had like a good time watching this movie. Like I needed faith to be restored for me to go to theaters, and this was the movie that did it.
Oh my
You
God.
are awesome. Do you want to be on our poster?
Yeah, can we put that on the poster?
Okay, I'm ready. Let's do it.
Faith restored. Yes.
Yes, faith restored.
You know, there was one review of the movie that said this movie exists to make you happy, and I thought we couldn't say it better than
But
that.
you just said it
did.
better.
Look,
That's my new favorite quote.
This was my therapy, okay? This was my therapy. But because of that, it made me think of that feeling of why I fell in love with movies in the first place. And I want to know for the both of you, what was that film that made you fall in love with cinema?
My earliest memory of a movie that wasn't a Disney animated movie was Old Yeller. Did you ever see Old Yeller?
I could never see it again.
Oh my God, with the dog, and then he gets rabies, and then he has to shoot the dog. It's just, it was so
What about Project
intense.
X? Did you ever see that with Matthew Broderick and the?
No.
Oh.
Is that lighter fare than?
It's similar to Old Yeller in
Yeller?
a way, but it's just like, oof, it's like you can't ever see it again. It's
Yeah.
too sad.
Yeah, it's too sad.
Well, that's not what she wants to talk
No,
about.
she doesn't want to talk
I don't know
about
why we're
that.
talking
She
about
wants
sad
movies that restore
but they can
your
touch
faith.
you in that way, right? They can just
Dirty Dancing, come on. I wanted to be Baby. I wanted to be her so badly. I wanted to carry the watermelon. I desperately wanted to be her. Oh, that was one of my first early, like, real memories, even though I probably was watching it at an inappropriate age, but I still loved it. Loved it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like what movie it was exactly, but I just
Back to the Future?
yeah, of course.
Indiana Jones. First time I saw Lost Crusade, it was just like,
There was this movie called No Retreat, No Surrender.
wait. Why do I know that movie?
It was like Bruce Lee was appearing to this kid in his mirror and teaching him how to fight.
That's cool.
It's something that could only happen in a movie, but it's like made me fall in love with movies. I was like, oh, anything can happen.
And then
here.
did you want
all the
Bruce
things
Lee
you
in your
wish
mirror?
could happen are happening in movies. Yeah, they have that power, and you
What
know,
about
especially when you go to a
you?
movie theater, it's sort of like can be such a, you know, a fun communal experience, and we try very hard to just make this sort of as fun for the audience as
Yeah.
possible. But yeah, what was yours?
What was your favorite movie growing up?
I watched a lot of movies as a kid. However, there is one random movie that made me not judge movies before they come out. It was Gladiator. I was so pissed my dad made me like go watch Gladiator. And at the end I was like, this is an amazing movie. So
It's amazing. I just watched it last week. I hadn't seen it for years. That bit where he's like, "Oh, you're not
Oh
entertained."
my god,
Oh,
that was a
that's the line.
was that a good
that
Russell?
was a really good Russell Crowe.
I mainly know
I mean,
it.
I thought Russell was sitting.
I feel like I
next to me,
mainly
yeah.
know it from the Jay-Z song. I feel like that's what I'm referencing. But like,
But also too, I love that your characters, everyone in the movie's fighting for somebody without them knowing it. And I want to know for you, when you think back to starting out your career, like who was that person that was fighting for you? Who's that person that really fought for you to get you to where you are today?
Well, my mom.
my mom.
My mom. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've had so many people like that. You know, I'm
Yeah.
so grateful to my older sister as well.
And it's also the first people who give you a shot, like those first people who let you in the room, and when no one wants to meet you, and I'd never trained, and in England that is like blasphemy if you haven't been to drama school. So it was difficult to get an audition in the beginning because if you hadn't trained, they didn't really want you coming in to read. So I remember my UK agent like fighting for me to get in the room to do this big play, and I eventually did, and I got it. And I remember that was like a big moment. And
I have an uncle, my Uncle Bill, who when I was getting in a lot of trouble at school and having a hard time, he bought like this big binder, and it was empty, and he sat down at the kitchen table and he said, I'm gonna fill this with all of your accomplishments. And I had not accomplished anything, but I didn't want it to sit empty, so I started trying to
that's really beautiful.
fill the binder.
Is it full?
What's that?
Is it full?
No, not yet. Thank you for pointing that out. It's half full?
No, it should be
Oh,
full.
it's half
I'm
empty.
just saying it should be full.
The binder's half empty. I see.
But thank you both. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to speak with me.
Thank you for those questions.
Thank you for
Those were cool.
questions and your quote about the movie and
Yeah.
what it did for you. It's so moving to us because we made it with so much love, and that you accepted it with love is the best.
I felt it. I needed it. And look, I'm just sending nothing but love and light both your ways. And I hope you have the most
Thank
amazing
you.
December. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We
Thank
hope
you.
to see you soon.
Yeah.
What was that first movie that made you fall in love with cinema?
Oh man, you know, for me, one of the first movies I ever saw that was like a big Hollywood movie that I could remember was Bad Boys, right? With Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, and they were cussing, and I was a little kid, and I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And the movie stands up today. And it's one of those big, action-packed, personality-driven pieces where it lives forever, and I really feel like Fall Guy falls right into that conversation. So I really think little Winston would love to see grown man Winston in that kind of movie. So, you know, just being a part of something like this makes me really proud.
The first movie that I saw was not in the cinema, but it was Singing in the Rain. And I loved the on-stage, backstage, you know, the talkie movies. And so the double whammy of being, you know, here at Universal Studios doing all of this and being on a movie where there's the on-camera, off-camera, the stunt of it all, the person in front of the camera. It's a bit of a kind of whole moment for me. Really fabulous.
Flubber. I don't know why. 8 times in theaters. I
Wow.
was hooked on Flubber. I
went
do
in.
not know why. And I really do. I mean, Robin Williams is a legend in so many ways. And I think just even as a small lad, I'm British now. We've been hanging out all day. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just getting to see that sort of like hamminess and wildness on screen, I think just really.
Sorry, distraction tactics.
Flubber.
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 Wow, you know what? I was not expecting Flubber. Now I gotta rewatch that. Okay.
So
I gotta
good.
rewatch it too. I hope
So
I feel like I need to
So
rewatch
good.
it.
That's my childhood there.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, everyone's literally fighting in this movie, but I like that all of your characters showcase the people who fight for everyone, like behind the doors. There's people who are helping everyone, you know, stars like you. There are people in a room fighting for you when you don't even know it. And I want to know,
Absolutely.
like, through your career, like, who was that first person that really fought for you? Who's that person like that fought for you to make sure that you were good or got the role? Like, who are those people that were fighting for you in the beginning?
You know, that's an incredible question, and I would expect it from Blavity, you know?
That's right.
Wonderful question. You know, the people in my life who fought for me were a lot of teachers, right? Teachers in school. Teachers who taught me that I belonged. You know, I was always a kid that stuck out because I was tall and big. And I remember in acting class, one day my acting teacher sat me down, and this was in college, and he said, you know, you're great, but like, what would you say is a challenge? And he asked me to describe my challenges, and I just described myself. I said I was just big, and I'm really tall, and I stick out, and all these things. And he said, you know, all the things that you just said are the reasons why I think you're beautiful. And that stayed with me and has stayed with me my whole life. And it's ways that people fight for you by sometimes fighting you for you. And yeah, the fight's complex and the fight's nuanced, and I'm really thankful for all those people.
I have felt a version of that myself. You know, when you are tall, people presume that you don't have any vulnerability to you, or, you know, things just bounce off the surface. And I would say during my theatre career, Sir Trevor Nunn kind of leant in a bit and held my hand and said, I'd like to encourage you to show that part of you. And it opened a door for me in my head that I could perhaps be more than I had been pigeonholed into. And it is, I don't think you can understand it unless you are bigger people like we are, that, you know, you walk into a room and people presume they've got the measure of you. So when somebody leans in and says, I see past that and I see little Winston or I see little Hannah, it really stays with you.
I always say that my journey has been like a series of guardian angels who have opened doors for me that I didn't even know existed. So I feel like all along the way, whether it's a classmate being like, hey, you should audition for the school play, or someone being like, you should study this in university, or have you ever thought about going to Broadway, or, you know, it's always been people who showed me that I belong in a space that I can't even, like, us even being here, I'm just
insane.
in this movie. I'm like, this is crazy. This is actually wild. And, you know, unless you see it, you don't believe it for yourself. And so I'm just grateful for truly every single person that has got me even to this chair to just say, like, hey, did you know that this was possible and this is possible for you? Yeah.
Absolutely.
You got me in my feelings. This is so beautiful. Y'all.
Thank you. No, that
Ask
was
the
a
question.
really great question.
Yeah, beautiful question.
What was that first film that made you fall in love with cinema?
Wow. I think probably Die Hard was probably, I mean, obviously you can tell by the movies that I make, they're sort of steeped in this sort of 80s, 90s action genre, you know, with great characters in the middle. But Die Hard is probably that sort of movie that just lit the fuse for me to make, you know, the type of movies I like to make. You know, there's a wry comedy to them. There's a underdog sensibility. And then there's great action that you remember. And then in Fall Guy, you have a love story on top of it. Although Die Hard had a love story too. You know, he was trying to get back, this couple was trying to get back together. They were estranged. And so, anyway, I'm glad, I think that I'll say Die Hard today.
I'm happy that you brought that up because I am a stickler. I really hate romance and action films, but this one I was like, okay, this can work. If it's done right, it could actually work. And I want you to talk about actually having romance as the center of this film.
Well, it was early on working with Ryan Deep, you know, who we developed the script together along with Drew and Kelly McCormick, my producing partner. We needed a real deep motivation for Colt to come back to the business. And there's really no stronger motivation than love. And so their love story was in there, but you know, being at Ryan, who's an expert at these sort of romantic movies, we started to lean into that superpower of like, okay, let's get the full Ryan Gosling love story experience on top of the new Ryan Gosling big action movie guy and see if we can't make something that hasn't been done in a while. And turns out it's just what we wanted. Like when the love story grew, the movie only got better. When we added Emily into the mix, it only got stronger. And like, having them perform those scenes on camera was like breathtaking. And it's like, at some point it's undeniable. Like you're watching it and you're like, I know people are going to enjoy this. And so you just lean in.
But I like also too, that is kind of, it's a tribute to the unsung heroes, the stuntmen who really make all these cool things that we know and love when we go to the movies.
Yeah.
And I really know for you, like seeing all the praise that people had and the appreciation that they've had for the stunt men and women who work in these films. How has that reaction kind of been from the first screenings that have come out?
It's been feeling really good. I mean, you know, we set out to be to make this a love letter to them and to that, you know, I spent 20 plus years of my life as a stunt performer, and so it's dear to my heart that we could make a movie that puts them in the spotlight, because you're right, they do make the magic that's on the screen, you know, the spectacle for action movie lovers comes from the stunt department. And so to have this movie celebrate that, it's really special to me.
Now, is there any genre? We know that you kick ass at action. Is there any genre that you kind of want to get into next? Is there anything you want to kind of
I love that action can be part of any film. And like, you know, you go back to the old school filmmakers, you know, Chaplin, Lloyd, and Keaton, and they were doing all these different genres, but action was at the focal point of what they were doing. I think action, we haven't done at 87 North a horror movie. I think could be really great. A straight up thriller would be fun, but it's hard for me to leave my comic sensibilities behind. And I do think when I go to the movies, I enjoy to laugh and I enjoy to feel. And so I'll always infuse those things, whether I'm taking on a horror movie. It'll probably be a horror action comedy, love story. Maybe, I don't know. We'll mix them all.
Okay, we're gonna talk next when you do the horror action comedy / thriller at the same time. But just thank you, thank you, thank you. Like, this movie came at the right time. It really put a smile on my face. I appreciate everything you do and the fact that you took time out of your day to speak with me. And I'm just sending nothing but love and light your way. I hope you have a great day.
Thank you. You too. And I'm glad you loved it. That was the intention. We just want to bring smiles.
Hey, I smiled and laughed.
I love it.